When the world collapses, strangers stop being people and become unknown systems, moving variables shaped by hunger, fear, and the absence of law. You are not evaluating personalities anymore. You are assessing unstable organisms operating without restraint. This is the first truth of post-apocalyptic contact. Every unknown human carries an undefined kill mechanism because nothing limits their behavior except their current desperation. Biology breaks first. A starving brain enters calorie bankruptcy, shrinking empathy and expanding aggression. Sleep loss distorts judgment. Dehydration amplifies irritability. What looks like calm may actually be exhaustion, shock, or suppressed panic. These aren't moral failures. They're predictable chemical reactions. In this state, a stranger's intentions can flip in seconds because the body drives the mind. Psychology collapses next. Trauma loops, fear, grief, hypervigilance lock survivors into reactive thinking. Their mind jumps at shadows, misreads tone, and overinterprets your movements. Even friendliness can trigger suspicion because collapse has taught them that danger often arrives wearing a polite voice. You are interacting with someone whose emotional system is frayed and whose threat perception is sharpened beyond reason. Physics finishes the transformation. Sightlines, angles, terrain, and distance decide who feels vulnerable and who feels in control. If they see you first, they shape the narrative. If the environment traps you, your words don't matter. The ground dictates the emotional tone long before either person speaks. Time deepens the instability. In the early days, panic rules. Later, scarcity hardens people into calculated survivors. Eventually, tribal loyalty replaces morality entirely. A stranger's behavior depends entirely on which stage they inhabit. From this emerges the core law of post-collapse contact. Cooperation is math, not trust. Every stranger is calculating what you cost and what you offer. You must do the same. Sentiment is a liability. Assumption is fatal. Treat every unknown human as a potential risk multiplier until their actions prove otherwise, not out of fear, but out of survival literacy. The mind of a stranger in a collapsed world is shaped less by personality and more by deprivation. You are not meeting who they once were. You are meeting who survival has carved them into. Understanding this psychology is essential, because collapse doesn't just break systems. It breaks people in predictable, dangerous ways. Trauma becomes their operating software. After enough fear and loss, the brain locks into hypervigilance, constantly scanning for threats, misreading neutral gestures, overreacting to minor shifts in tone. Their calm moments are thin ice. Any unexpected movement, pause, or ambiguity can send them straight back into fight or flight. You are negotiating with a nervous system, not a stable personality. Hunger rewires logic. A starving brain prioritizes immediate survival over long-term reason. Empathy shrinks. Patience shortens. Threat perception expands. A stranger may misinterpret your caution as hostility, your confidence as dominance, or your silence as deception, simply because their biology is starving for calories and clarity. Their reactions are not about you. They're about the chemistry inside them. Then comes projection bias. Collapse teaches people to expect danger everywhere, so they begin to assume others think as they do. If they're desperate, they assume you are. If they've stolen before, they'll suspect you of planning the same. If their trust has been broken, they'll treat every interaction like a trap. What you say matters less than what their fear tells them you mean. Tribe-first instinct reinforces the distortion. Most survivors cling to small groups, family scraps, improvised alliances, because isolation is lethal. Anyone outside that circle becomes a variable. A person with a tribe behaves cautiously, politely, but strategically. Their loyalty is already assigned, and you are not part of it. And beneath all of it is moral drift. Collapse bends ethics. Not because people turn evil, but because survival pressure erases the luxury of idealism. A stranger who seems decent may still rationalize actions they once would have rejected. Thus, the rule becomes clear. Trust is a ration, not a feeling. You distribute it slowly, test it constantly, and withdraw it instantly if behavior fractures. The danger isn't that strangers are bad, it's that collapse makes them unpredictable. In a collapsed world, the environment becomes the first negotiator in every encounter. Before a stranger speaks, the terrain has already decided who feels threatened, who feels safe, and who holds the advantage. If you misread the environment, you misread the entire interaction. Sightlines define initiative. If they see you before you see them, they enter the moment with more data. Your posture, your load, your fatigue. That information imbalance shapes their psychology before you open your mouth. Likewise, when you hold the visual advantage, your presence feels less unpredictable to them, reducing the risk of panic or misinterpretation. Distance controls danger. Human reaction time collapses when someone stands too close. Instinct takes over faster than reason. The safe range for cooperation is a distance where voices carry comfortably, but neither side can convert movement into an immediate strike. Too close equals pressure. Too far equals suspicion. The optimal buffer keeps both nervous systems calm. Choke points are hidden threats. Door frames, narrow streets, hallways, stairwells, any tight space traps movement and amplifies fear. Even a friendly stranger becomes dangerous if the terrain compresses your options. Cooperation should never begin in a place where you cannot retreat cleanly. Sound shapes perception. Quiet, controlled footsteps suggest caution. Heavy or erratic noise suggests exhaustion, carelessness, or emotional volatility. Your own sound signature communicates whether you are confident, calm, or potentially hostile. In collapse conditions, predictable noise is safer than stealth. Terrain shapes behavior unconsciously. People standing in open ground tend to negotiate. People in cramped or shadowed areas prepare for conflict. High ground produces dominance. Low ground produces defensiveness. Lighting matters too. If they can't read your hands or face, their fear fills in the blanks. The final rule is exit geometry. A cooperative attempt is only as safe as your ability to disengage. You must always have a clean, visible path out. One that doesn't force sudden movement or create the illusion of retreating in panic. Neutral, controlled exits keep instincts calm. In the post-apocalyptic world, the ground isn't background, it's strategy. Reading it correctly makes encounters survivable. Reading it poorly makes them unpredictable. First contact in a collapsed world is not a conversation, it's a controlled procedure. The stranger's survival brain is scanning your posture, hands, tone, and pace long before they process your words. Your job is to appear predictable, not friendly, stable, not eager. Predictability calms instinct. Stability lowers the chance of escalation. Posture comes first. Stand balanced, shoulders relaxed, with your hands visible. Hidden hands trigger danger responses, especially in people who've lived through ambush or betrayal. Visible hands communicate clarity. I am not preparing an attack. This alone can prevent a misunderstanding from turning violent. Distance shapes comfort. Too close, and you compress their space, forcing instinct to take over. Too far, and you look like you're staging something. The safe range is conversational, but not intimate. enough space for both of you to move without triggering alarm. Distance is a pressure valve. Movement must be slow and readable. You maintain a steady approach, pause briefly, then continue, always at the same tempo. Sudden angles or quick steps activate pre-assault alarms in the stranger's mind. Rhythm signals calm. Rhythm signals control. Collapse survivors trust rhythm more than words. Your voice sets the emotional frame. Speak clearly, steadily, without exaggerated warmth. Too much friendliness feels manipulative. Too little feels hostile. The tone you want is functional calm, firm enough to show you're not unstable, soft enough to show you're not escalating. Information must be rationed. You share nothing unnecessary. No details about where you're going, what you carry, or who you're with. In collapse conditions, information is leverage, and oversharing invites risk. You speak only about the immediate moment and the immediate need. Non-commitment signaling is essential. Avoid offering help too quickly or asking for it. Both behaviors can trigger suspicion or attachment. You want to project one message: cooperation is possible, but not required. Neutrality is safer than enthusiasm. Finally, you control the tempo of the interaction. Too fast appears desperate. Too slow appears calculating. A steady tempo tells the stranger you are regulated, aware, and not driven by hidden motives. First contact isn't about trust. It's about preventing instinct from taking control. Predictability keeps the encounter human. Unpredictability turns it feral. Once first contact stabilizes, the real evaluation begins, not through conversation, but through controlled micro-stress. In collapse conditions, anyone can appear calm when nothing is demanded of them. Intent only reveals itself when the flow breaks. Your goal is not to provoke the stranger, but to apply small, harmless pressures that expose their real operating logic. The first test is the time pause. When they ask something, you wait a beat before answering. A steady, cooperative person accepts the pause. Someone hiding urgency, whether from fear or agenda, reacts with impatience, tension, or sudden pushiness. Time disrupts rehearsed behavior. Anyone running a script struggles with unexpected silence. Next is a positional adjustment. You ask them to shift slightly to improve sightlines or move away from a choke point. A reasonable stranger complies naturally. Someone with concealed intent resists or freezes because you just disrupted their angle of advantage. Geometry reveals motive. Then comes the resource gaze test. You casually adjust your pack or shift your jacket, exposing a piece of gear. Watch where their eyes go. Cooperative survivors glance and move on. Desperate or opportunistic ones linger, especially on water, tools, or weapons. Hunger creates a specific stare, and you can read it. Behavioral anchoring exposes inconsistency. Early in the interaction, you ask a simple, neutral question, something low stakes. Later, you revisit a similar one. A stable mind stays consistent even if details blur. A deceptive or panicked mind shifts tone, pacing, or structure because they're reconstructing rather than recalling. A brief moment of controlled ambiguity reveals instinct. You pause mid-sentence, look past them, or tilt your head slightly, as if noticing something. Their fear fills the silence. Predators lean forward. Desperate people shrink. Cautious people hold still. Ambiguity forces their true state to surface. A light moral hypothetical. What would you do if you found abandoned supplies? Shows how far their ethics have drifted. Survivors answer practically. Opportunists answer strategically. People in full scarcity logic justify questionable choices without hesitation. Finally, you test reciprocity. You reveal a minor, non-critical vulnerability, a route you avoided, a tool you lost, A cooperative stranger offers something equivalent. A manipulator deflects. A predator probes further. Reciprocity is the backbone of safe cooperation. Uneven exchange is a warning. These micro-stress tests are subtle, non-threatening, and quietly diagnostic. They let you see beneath presentation and into structure, how the stranger reacts when control slips, when expectation breaks, when uncertainty appears. In the world after collapse, words are decoration, reactions are truth. Temporary cooperation in a collapsed world isn't trust, friendship, or alliance. It's a survival contract held together by math. You don't work with strangers because you believe in them. You work with them because doing so must increase your survival odds more than it increases your risk. If it doesn't, the cooperation is already a liability. The core of this structure is aligned objectives. You and the stranger must want outcomes that run parallel, not dependent, not conflicting. Dependency breeds resentment. Conflicting goals breed deception. Parallel goals create a temporary lane where both sides benefit without stepping on each other's survival path. The multiplier rule governs the decision. Any cooperation must give you at least 3 times the return compared to the exposure it creates. If helping them fortify shelter saves you time, reduces danger, and secures rest, the multiplier is positive. If the benefit is minor but the risk is large, you walk away. Collapse survival is an energy economy. Cooperation must be an investment, not an expense. Roles must be separated cleanly. If both parties gather water, you compete. If one gathers while the other maintains perimeter or repairs gear, you complement. Clear division prevents misunderstandings and eliminates the subtle territorial friction that tends to escalate under stress. Resource transparency must stay limited. Show too much and you become a target. Show too little and you look weak or deceptive. You reveal only what's necessary for the task, nothing more. Your goal is to appear stable, not stalked, capable, not desperate. Communication becomes strictly functional. Clear expectations, clear timelines, no emotional wording, no vague promises. You speak in actions, not hopes. Collapse survivors mistrust ambiguity because ambiguity hides danger. Precision keeps both sides calibrated. Trust is not the beginning of cooperation. It's the byproduct. A stranger proves reliability through small tasks done well, small boundaries respected, small agreements kept. If they fail the small things, they will collapse under larger stakes. Boundaries hold the structure together. Limits on proximity, limits on resource sharing, limits on information. Boundaries don't make you cold, they make you predictable. And predictability is safer than warmth. Temporary cooperation works only when it functions like a tool, simple, clear, and purposeful. When done right, it multiplies your odds of survival. When done poorly, it becomes the hole in the boat you never saw coming. Biological danger is the silent threat woven into every encounter after collapse. Without hospitals, clean water, antibiotics, or sanitation systems, even minor illnesses can cripple you. Strangers don't just carry intention, they carry microbes, parasites, and contamination from every ruin, shelter, and corpse they've passed. Working with them safely requires treating biology as seriously as violence. Hygiene decay is immediate. Without regular washing, skin becomes a host for staph, fungus, and bacteria. Clothes trap sweat and spores. Tools collect grime. A stranger's appearance, greasy hair, dirty sleeves, irritated skin, tells you how long they've gone without proper cleaning. You're not judging them. You're assessing biorisk. Respiratory danger is next. A cough in the silent wasteland isn't just noise, it's a warning. Dry coughs hint at dust or dehydration. Wet ones hint at infection. Listen to their breathing between sentences. Shallow, strained, or inconsistent breathing often signals fever or lung irritation from moldy environments. Your distance becomes your filter. Parasites travel faster than trust. Lice, fleas, mites, and ticks spread through close proximity or shared bedding. Constant scratching, twitchy discomfort, or visible rashes indicate infestation. Parasites drain calories and destroy sleep, two things you cannot afford to lose. Waterborne pathogens are a hidden killer. Anyone drinking unfiltered river water or runoff likely carries giardia or dysentery. Early signs are subtle: fatigue, stomach tension, cracked lips. Sharing utensils or containers with them becomes a survival gamble. Wounds reveal infection risk. In collapse conditions, a cut is no longer minor. It's a potential death sentence. Swelling, redness, limping, or guarded movement tells you a stranger is harboring bacteria. Cooperation doesn't mean sharing that risk. This is where quarantine logic becomes mandatory. Maintain distance. Avoid enclosed spaces at first. Don't share fabric, food containers, or sleeping areas until you've observed stability. Prevention becomes your only medicine. Low-tech screening, checking posture, skin tone, sweat patterns, breathing, replaces diagnostics. Decontamination becomes routine. Wash hands, clean tools, isolate outer clothing, boil water after contact. Biology doesn't negotiate. Even the kindest stranger can carry something your weakened body cannot fight. In the post-collapse world, staying healthy is staying alive. Groups in a collapsed world follow their own physics. The moment more than one stranger is involved, the risk doesn't add. It multiplies. You're no longer dealing with individuals. You're dealing with a shifting organism shaped by hierarchy, scarcity, and pressure. Safe cooperation requires reading these group mechanics before they tighten around you. Territory forms instantly. Every group has an invisible perimeter around their food, rest area, tools, and personal space. You may not see the boundary, but they feel it. Step too close, speak too boldly, or settle in the wrong spot, and you'll trigger subtle defensive tension. Respecting these invisible lines keeps the interaction stable. Then comes dominance testing. Someone will naturally rise as the unspoken leader, through posture, tone, or the way others glance at them. You must identify this axis quickly. Challenging the leader creates conflict. Appearing submissive invites exploitation. The safe position is neutral, competent, self-contained, not competing and not yielding. Food distribution exposes the group's internal structure. Who eats first? Who eats most? Who serves the portions? Any imbalance shows hierarchy and hidden resentments. A group that can't divide rations fairly will eventually fracture, and you don't want to be inside that fracture when it happens. Sleep security rotation reveals trust patterns. In balanced groups, night watch rotates evenly. In stressed groups, weaker members guard more while dominant ones rest. If they try to place you into this rotation, where they put you tells you exactly how they see you. Equal, expendable, or suspicious. Microfactions appear even in pairs. Two people traveling together will always have alliances, disagreements, or unspoken roles. Watch how they interrupt each other when they go silent or who stands slightly in front. Misreading these internal currents can put you on the wrong side of a tension you didn't know existed. To stay safe, you must never become a new center of gravity. Speak clearly, but not often. Offer help without eagerness. Decline without defensiveness. Groups react aggressively to anything that shifts their internal balance. Too much value is as destabilizing as too little. Above all, Understand that groups under collapse are unstable survival machines. Fear, scarcity, and exhaustion amplify every emotion. Your goal is to stay inside their awareness without entering their conflicts. In a dead world, groups can amplify your safety or end it faster than any individual ever could. Reading their structure is not social skill. It's survival. Deception becomes a survival tool once society collapses. Strangers don't always lie out of malice. They lie because hunger, fear, or necessity pushes them toward strategy over honesty. Your job isn't to detect every lie. It's to understand the logic that produces them. The first layer is sympathy modeling. Some survivors present vulnerability early. A limp, a sad story, a trembling voice, not necessarily because it's fake, but because collapse teaches people that looking harmless buys safety. The timing is what matters. Real vulnerability emerges slowly. Strategic vulnerability appears immediately. This leads to hostage logic, where someone hints that they cannot survive alone or subtly pressures you to help them. It isn't always manipulation, sometimes it's desperation, but the effect is the same. Your movement becomes tied to theirs. In collapse, obligation is leverage. Narrative inconsistencies expose deeper motives. Details about where they came from, who they've met, or what they've seen may drift each time they retell the story. In a stable mind, inconsistencies are small and emotional. In a deceptive mind, inconsistencies appear in survival-critical details, routes, resources, timelines. Hidden agendas show through asymmetrical curiosity. If they keep asking about your supplies, your numbers, your plans, while giving vague answers themselves, they're not making conversation. They're running reconnaissance. Information is currency, and they're trying to profit. Timeline cross-checking is your tool. Revisit a topic casually later. An honest mind recalls the same framework. A deceptive mind reconstructs the story, shifting tone and pacing because they're rebuilding instead of remembering. Conversational triangulation sharpens the picture. Mention a different detail, hint at a resource, or shift your narrative slightly. Watch their reaction. Opportunists perk up. Predators ignore it. They're already set on their plan. Cooperative strangers stay neutral. Excessive agreement is another red flag. Some survivors mirror everything you say to appear aligned. That's camouflage, not cooperation. You measure reliability by behavior, not by how quickly they agree with you. Finally, watch tempo changes. A sudden shift, faster speech, delayed answers, rushing decisions, signals internal recalibration. Something you said forced them to rethink their plan. In a dead world, deception isn't rare, it's adaptive. Your safety depends on reading not the lie, but the survival instinct behind it. Exiting cooperation is just as important as entering it. In collapse conditions, endings can trigger fear, resentment, or pursuit if handled poorly. A clean exit keeps you neutral, forgettable, and non-threatening. Your goal is simple. Leave without creating an emotional ripple. You begin with operational framing, not honesty. You don't say, "I'm done," or "I don't trust this." That creates conflict. Instead, you give a practical reason. You need to check a route, scout water, follow a lead, or meet a time-sensitive goal. Logic calms people. Emotion stirs them. Your movements must stay steady and consistent. Packing quickly or changing tone signals danger and triggers instinct. You keep the same rhythm you've shown throughout the interaction. Predictability prevents the stranger's survival brain from interpreting your departure as a threat. Neutral withdrawal is key. No promises about meeting again. No emotional goodbyes. No last-minute trades that create new ties or tensions. You leave the moment as unchanged as possible. Anything unresolved becomes a hook they may try to chase. Your exit vector matters. You walk in a direction that is visible for a few moments, close enough that they don't feel abandoned, far enough that they can't follow without revealing intent. Then, gradually, you transition into cover. Sudden disappearance makes people nervous. Controlled fading reduces pursuit risk. If needed, subtle misdirection helps. Mention checking one area while planning to move another. You're not deceiving maliciously. You're preventing unstable minds from tracking you out of fear or curiosity. Before you leave sight, you give light closure, a nod, a neutral acknowledgement. Not warmth, not coldness, just enough recognition to satisfy the human need for an ending. Without closure, people linger mentally, and lingering turns into action. Only once you're outside their vision do you reassess. Check for pursuit, listen for steps, watch for changes in the environment. Exit isn't complete until you confirm distance, cover, and quiet. A good exit doesn't make the stranger trust you. It makes the stranger stop thinking about you. In the post-collapse world, leaving clean is sometimes the only reason you survive to see the next encounter.